What's good, Wizards fans? We got a little bit of a news dump we're going to talk about. It's your host, the real Ed Oliver, and Brandon Scott. We're going to talk a little bit about Grant Williams and Landry Shamet and a preview of the Summer League. Let's get to it.
You are Locked On Wizards, your daily Washington Wizards podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
So I want to thank you guys for making Locked On Wizards your first listen every day. We are free and available wherever you get podcasts. All right, so the Grant Williams actually just got traded not too long ago. I'm going to look for the trade. He got traded to, but the reason why I'm going to bring him up is because there was a report from The Athletic that was saying that the Wizards are interested in possibly doing a sign and trade for Grant Williams or signing him. Now the news is outdated. But I did want to get your thoughts. So Grant Williams was actually just traded to the Mavericks for Reggie Bullock and an unprotected Dallas pick swap in 2030, and then multiple second-round picks as well. So I just want to get your thought about that report. And then, of course, just looking on social media, there were some people that were upset about, him once again, possibly another player coming in, possibly taking minutes away from some of the young guys.
Interesting, man. It was very interesting to see that we were even interested. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. When I saw that the Washington Wizards were among the interested teams, man, I was like, okay. Which, I mean, if you look at Kuzma coming back, Jordan Poole coming on DC, it tells me that they're trying to retool, not so much going to a full rebuild. Because they're trying to make moves to make this a somewhat competitive team, which kind of falls in line with, the whole MO of Ted Leonsis, where they want to try to be a playoff team. I mean, because look, this team is not going to be trash, man. I mean, especially if you add a Grant Williams, that's not a trash team. So they're trying to make some moves to make this team somewhat competitive. Now, I'm not saying that we're trying to challenge for a playoff spot, but we're definitely trying to make this a watchable, very somewhat competitive team. So, yeah, I was very surprised to see that we were in the hunt for him. And I think that really, because I know we're going to talk about potential who we will send their way, but look, I kind of like what I see. They're not really trying to go into a full rebuild, because a lot of their actions show me that they're trying to retool. The first step was obviously getting that monstrosity contract off the books, Bradley Beal's contract, and then Kristaps Porzingis. So I kind of like the move, man. I like, they're hungry. They, the fact that they're trying to make moves to improve this team. I like what I see. So potential, who would I send their way if we were in the running for Grant Williams? Well, I know people ain't gonna be happy, but I would Denny would be one of those names that I would put in trade talks, because he's on an aspiring contract. And if you indeed trying to retool and Grant Williams is here for multiple years, then he's expendable at that point at the 4 or at the 3, wherever you want to choose to play Denny. But so I would definitely include Denny. We have an influx of second round picks. So, that's the thing about this front office and the situation that the Washington Wizards is right now, man, because we have a lot of flexibility with the picks we have obtained and the aspiring contracts and some of the young pieces like Denny or maybe even Kispert that could be made available. We are very, very flexible. So, getting back to Grant Williams, man, I think it's really cool seeing that we were involved with trying to obtain him. Because that when I saw our names on it, man, that was telling me that we're trying to retool, not so much rebuild. And I can dig it, because this is going to be a watchable team next year. Kuz and Poole. So, yeah, I kind of, I ain't gonna lie to you. I kind of wanted Grant Williams, man. When I saw we were in the running, man, and I get it. We were talking about before the show, man. The people are, what's the first thing that people gonna say? Who's he taking minutes away from? Mm-hmm. But I mean, he can. You have variables where at that point you could probably put think about it. Would you put Grant Williams at the 4?
Yeah, so I would put him at the 4. He is 6'6", 236, but he plays big. He's listed as a power forward because he played as he was playing 5 at some point. He was playing the 5-man at some points with the Celtics, even though of course they had Al Horford, they had Robert Williams, they had a couple bigs. But yeah, he plays bigger than his height for sure. He's a tough guy, and he does provide some toughness that the Wizards don't really have.
So I mean, hypothetically, if we got Grant Williams, you can slide Kuz to the 3, and the only person you're really taking minutes away from would be the guy that I would send in return for a trade, which was Denny. So I don't really, it would be a good move. But, again, obviously he's in Dallas now. But, to see them being aggressive to a certain degree, trying to find young talent to bring to DC, man, that's something we haven't seen in a while. So no, I love seeing that. I love seeing it. I want to see us. I want to see our names more involved with a lot more players going forward.
Yeah, it certainly was interesting. It certainly interesting. Certainly was intriguing. Now it does kind of bring in the question of what they are trying to do. Like you said, they're trying to retool, and the people who were upset about bringing Kuzma back because he may help us win too many games, which I disagree with. I don't think Kuzma would have pushed our ceiling that much to the point where we're going to make the playoffs or the play in. And same thing with Grant Williams. Even though Grant Williams kind of, I feel like he's a guy that you bring in if you really, really want to win. Kind of like he's of the mold of those tough guys, those 3-and-D tough guys that will get in your face, be real physical, is going to play tough defense, knock down threes. He's a good three-point shooter too. Shoots 39% from the three-point line last year. Now, he didn't have a great playoffs, but he's a guy that's super, super reliable. Shot 39% from the three, 8 points a game, 2 assists, 4 boards. So he's just a steady Eddie guy. Didn't have a great playoffs, but he had one big game in the playoffs where he had 14 points. But the guy plays hard, plays really hard. He's going to get up in your face. You see him getting up in Jimmy Butler's face. We just don't have a lot of guys that kind of are physical, mean guys, and I thought he definitely would have brought an edge to the team. But I wasn't begging on the table to get him, but it was interesting as far as him taking away minutes from guys like Denny or some of the young guys. It's just like, yeah, you got to compete. But personally, I don't see the point. I didn't see the point of bringing him in. I just feel like right now where the roster's at, I feel like they should go more of an evaluation route. Let's see what Denny has for the rest of the season. At the trade deadline, if they don't like what they see, go ahead and trade them. Go ahead and move on, and then let some other guys play. But at this point, I just didn't see the point of bringing in Grant. I feel like Grant is a move, kind of like bringing in guys like PJ Tucker or Jay Crowder, guys that I feel like, last year we were talking about bringing in Jay Crowder because, we thought that they were going to try to make a play-in, or at least playoff push. I feel like Grant Williams is the guy that you kind of bring in to make somewhat of a playoff push. And I just see this roster where it's at right now. I just feel like they're in a rebuild mode, or a roster that's an evaluation roster at this point. So personally, I was just like, I didn't see the point of bringing him in, but I do like him as a player. I do like him as a player. Now, if they were going to get him for the mid-level exception and just sign him outright, I was fine with that. But I didn't personally. I didn't. I do want to see more from Denny. Would he take minutes from Denny? Yeah, he probably would have. He probably would have. But at the same time, Denny's got to step up too and create minutes for himself and earn it. He's got to beat guys out and get on the floor and be more consistent for sure. So just seeing their name in a hat for him is intriguing, but I definitely wouldn't trade anything for Grant Williams. And the Celtics reportedly want a first-round pick. I was like, I'm definitely not giving you a first-round pick with Grant Williams. Maybe some seconds, kind of like what they got. They got Reggie Bullock, and a couple second-round picks. I think that's a fair trade. So even if the Wizards did that, because we have so many second-round picks, it's kind of like, we got even more. So we have way more second-round picks to give away. So it's not like I would have been upset over that, but I just didn't see the point of bringing him in, honestly. I really didn't see the point. I think we just roll with what you got. Roll with Bilal. Even though he's a 2, Denny's a 3 or 4, roll with Denny, see what he's got. You already brought in Kuz. You already brought back Kuz. See what he's got. So that was my thing. Pat Baldwin, let's see what he's got. Vucevic, let's see what he's got. Throw some of those guys in there and see what they have. So that was just my thinking on it.
Yeah, I'm with you. My first choice is to see what Denny has offered this year. I want to see a big improvement with his game. I don't want to. I'm with you. I was kind of confused. Like, we're really, really about the direction of the team. We went from going to a full rebuild, which, I get it. Kuzma, the signing was a little confusing, but when you look at the CBA and the 90% of the cap, it makes sense now. But I'm with you. I wasn't really banging on the door to get him. I was intrigued. But here's the psychology behind it, man. And this is why it's chess, not checkers, man. It's because they say all attention is good attention, right? In business world, man. That's the fact that their name was involved is letting people know that where they're at. The chances are they weren't really trying to obtain them, but they're letting people know that they're in the market to make this team better. And that's why I'm kind of looking at it from an executive standpoint, is that, in the past, you never really saw our name involved with any kind of improvements the last 2 to 3 years, man. It's just, nobody knew we were really going for Porzingis till it happened. Like, you didn't see it connected to him at any point that, so I think that's what they're trying to do. They do just by linking a name with potential moves is letting them know that There's a new sheriff in town, and this front office is going to try to make this team better. Whether it's this year, whether it's down the line, but they're letting people know that this is going to be a front office that is going to try to make moves. So that's kind of where I'm at with it. Yeah, I wasn't banging on the door for him, and I'm with you, man. I want to see Denny, what he can do this year. I want to see if he can finally break out, because I want him to go into this offseason, man, and work on his deficiencies. I want to see how good he can be, because, look, I'm all in for a rebuild. I want to see these young guys. This is the biggest thing about this year, next year, maybe even a third year. I want to see these young guys and what they can really, really do. Whether it's Denny, Kispert, I want to see Johnny Davis take that step. So yeah, I'm with you. I'm me personally. I want to kind of move on from some of these expirings, and I have no problem with putting the young guys out in the fire to a certain degree. Now, I don't think that Bilal should start yet. I think that he definitely needs to start on the bench. But I mean, a lineup where Kispert and Denny both starts, I would love to see that, because I want to see, especially those two. I want to see what they can do in the start lineup on the rebuilding team. So I'm with you, man. I wasn't knocking on the door for Grant Williams, but it was intriguing to see our name connected with him. So
definitely, yeah. So we're going to get a quick word here from BetterHelp, and then we're going to talk about Landry Shamet news, and then preview the summer league. But before we do get to that, today's episode is brought to you by BetterHelp. Sometimes in life, we're faced with tough choices, and the path forward isn't always clear. Whether you're dealing with decisions around career, relationships, or anything else, therapy helps you stay connected to what you really want while you navigate life, so you can move forward with confidence and excitement. Trusting yourself to make decisions that align with your values is like anything. The more practice you get, the easier it gets. If you're thinking of starting therapy, give BetterHelp a try. It's entirely online, designed to be convenient, flexible, and suited to your schedule. Just fill out a brief questionnaire to get matched with a licensed therapist and switch therapists anytime for no additional charge. Let therapy be your map with BetterHelp. Visit BetterHelp.com/LockedOnNBA today to get 10% off your first month. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/LockedOn. Thank you guys for making Locked On Wizards for your first listen every day. For every day or tomorrow on the show, we're going to be talking about Tyus Jones. Make sure you guys check that out. All right, so last thing I'll say about Grant Williams too, and bringing him in. Once again, I don't think it would boost our win total, but it would kind of, I know people are questioning, is this a middle build again after bringing Kyle Kuzma back? So I think bringing in Grant Williams would kind of bring up the question of, are they middle building kind of like they did before? Because I think if you bring in Grant Williams, it does change. All of this is already passed, but it is just questioning, who else are they going to try to bring somebody else in? I know the free agent pool is definitely drying up. I think the biggest name out there that I think possible the Wizards could really get is Mo Bamba. Just signed with the Lakers. I think that's a guy that they should have brought in. I think they need more front court help more than getting another small forward or a four. I think they need a backup to Gafford, because if Gafford gets injured, knock on wood, or he gets tired like he has in the past, he gets winded, your backup center is Mike Muscala. He's not really a center. I mean, you do have Vucevic. Is he ready yet, or is he going to be playing in the G League? We'll see in the summer league games coming up, but you can't really base too much off the summer league. So that was just my question marks with getting Grant Williams, but I think he definitely would have boosted the toughness and the physicality for this roster as well, and he could have played small ball 5. Just looking at the Thunder, they played small ball last year. They played Giddey, Shai Gilgeous, who else? Lou Dort. And Jalen Williams was in the starting 5. They have 4 smaller guys, 6'5", 6'6", 6'7", and then Jalen Williams, who's about 6'10" and 6'11". So they kind of played a small ball kind of style. So maybe they could have thought and tried to do that with Grant Williams out there too. But so once again, it's intriguing. It's something that ended up not happening. So we'll move on from that. But it is interesting to see the direction of this roster and what they're trying to do. So quickly we'll move on to Landry Shamet. So the report on him is that the Miami Heat are intrigued. This is the report from Greg Sylvander. Quote, he's quoted to say, as this complicated multi-team trade is being worked on to land Lillard in Miami, a player who Miami has expressed interest in, and per source is sharpshooter Landry Shamet, who is now in Washington. So what are your thoughts on that? Because of the Damian Lillard trade, they have to add a bunch of teams to it to make it happen.
Hey, move him. I want Johnny too, man, on the second unit. Move him. I mean, I like his game, man, and any other time I would love him on this team, but no, Johnny Davis needs playing time, and it's a two guard on the second unit. So yeah, move him. You get the chance, get a second round pick, get whatever you can, but yeah, definitely move him, Because if you look at the expiring contracts, you got him, you got Gallinari, you got Muscala. I mean, Gallinari and Muscala, you don't necessarily need to move because they're depth right now. So you can definitely move them at the deadline, get their value up, and then send them on their way. But as far as Shamet, man, yeah, absolutely. I want Johnny Davis on the second unit, and he's really holding up Johnny Davis. So yeah, because if you look at the potential depth chart, obviously you're looking at Koulibaly is going to kind of be back up the second unit at the 3, play 2, but nah, I don't want anybody in Johnny Davis's way. I want to see what he can do right now off the bench. So yeah, if you have a chance to move him, definitely move him because I think he's got value. So yeah, if you can move him, move him.
Yeah, I certainly would too. Definitely to consolidate the roster, let Johnny get minutes at the 2, maybe even Corey Kispert minutes at the 2. Jordan Poole's, of course, going to get about 35 to 40 minutes a game at the 2, maybe even play at the 1. But yeah, I think you do have a little bit of a logjam there with Landry Shamet. He's an older guy. What's the direction of the team with him? I mean, what's the long-term future with him? Would he be taking minutes away from Johnny? Once again, Johnny's got to earn the minutes, but at the same time, you just want to see what you got in your first round pick. Even though they didn't draft Johnny, you still want to give the guy a chance just to see what you got. It is a rebuilding, or I'll just say a research and development kind of year, or an evaluation kind of year. So you just want to see what you got in Johnny Davis. Let him get as many minutes as he can. Bilal, they think that he's a guard, that he can play guard. He can play the 2. He said it himself. Well, Dawkins said it. He's going to be playing guard in summer league. So, Landry Shamet, he's a guy that, doesn't have any ties here, a veteran. So you kind of know what he is. He's already hit his ceiling in the league. He's a good player, but he's more of a rotational role player. And if Miami's going to get you another second-round pick, even though we have about 30, 40 second-round picks already, you can never have enough second-round picks. As we've seen, there's value in second-round picks. There's still good players in the second round, and you can, package up second-round picks to move up like we did for Bilal. Or you look at KJ Martin, who just got traded for second-round picks. You look at Obi Toppin, who just got traded for 2 second-round picks. So you can still get some young talent in here. And the second-round picks, they have value. They're not sexy, but they do have value for sure. So I would definitely move him in a trade. If it takes 7 teams for Damian Lillard for that trade to be done, so be it. That's what people are reporting, that it's going to take 5, 6, 7 teams to get it done, which it just might. It just might. So if he's going to involve in there, we get a second-round pick or even a young, good player from the Miami Heat, I would certainly take that as well.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, I'm sending him on his way, man. Because it's nothing against him. He just doesn't fit
the timeline, right? Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Johnny Davis needs minutes because look, I'm gonna say this. Going back to Wisconsin, he started slow in his career at Wisconsin, and then that next year he was money. And if you look at last year, yeah, his game was a dumpster fire from at the beginning, but I mean, he went into the G League, he worked his tail off. And you saw a totally different Johnny at the end of the year, man. That last 10 games, he was aggressive. He was starting to pick up the speed of the NBA game. So I think he's going to take it. I'm not going to say, I'm not totally sold right now that he's going to be a breakout candidate. But I'm going to say this. He has a better year this year because he's going to work his tail off. Because that's one thing you cannot say about Johnny looking at him last year. Work ethic's not an issue. He's going to work on his game. And like I said, going back to Wisconsin, he that next year, he took a massive step forward as far as his play in the Big Ten. So I like what I see with Johnny, man. I think he's gonna solidify himself on the second unit this year. I really do. I'm a big fan of Johnny. I like his drive, man. I know a lot of people's down on Johnny, call him a bust. I think it's way too early to call him a bust. I don't think he's a bust. I get it. He started out bad, but again, you got to look at track record. Consistency. I mean, as far as look, we're creatures of habit, man. So if you look at him and how he operates. He started slow at Wisconsin, and he found that speed in the Big Ten. And then, so once he finds that speed in the NBA, man, Johnny's going to be he's going to be nice. I'm telling you. And I know we're going to get into what we expect out of him going forward. So I can't wait to talk about him, man. But I mean, he needs minutes. I don't want anybody in his way. I mean, Johnny Davis needs to get minutes to second unit. So if Schmet's in the way, send him on his way, man.
All right. So let's transition to the Summer League roster here. So Ryan Rollins and Pat Baldwin Jr., they're not on the roster at this point because the trade has not been finalized just yet. We'll see if they are added to the roster because I do want to see those 2 young guys play for sure. But Kyle Alexander's on the roster from Valencia, 6'2", 216 pounds. Jules Bernard from the Capital City Go-Go, 6'6", 205 pounds. Xavier Cooks, your guy. Xavier Cooks. I'm just joking. I don't think he's your guy. But we did see him play in person. He's still on the roster, so I mean, Grant Williams would take minutes from him as well. For all the people concerned about young guys getting their minutes taken away, I'm just joking there. But Xavier Cooks, 6'8", 183 pounds, from Australia. That's a guy that Tommy Shepard brought in, so we'll see what they decide to do with him this upcoming season. Of course, Bilal's on the roster, 6'6", 195 pounds. Johnny Davis, obviously, Quentin Jackson. I'm excited to see him. Osun Nii, 6'10" center, 235 pounds out of Iowa State. DJ Stewart, 6'6", 205 pounds from the Sioux Falls Skyforce G League team. Dejan Vazovic, I'm sorry I'm mispronouncing or butchering his last name, from the Sydney Kings in Australia. Tristan Vukcevic, who we just drafted, 7 feet, 225 pounds. And then Donovan Williams, a guard, 6'6", 190 pounds from the Atlanta Hawks. Some guys I'm just not too familiar with. Brandon, I'm not sure if you're familiar with some of the other guys that I named.
No. I think the only one I'm familiar with, man, is Osun out of Iowa State. I looked at him a little bit in Iowa State, man. He's intriguing, man. But yeah, DJ Stewart, man, there was a prospect for the Orioles named DJ Stewart. I was like, man, he didn't change sports, man.
Right. All right. So I guess we'll do, and then looking at the schedule too, they play the Indiana Pacers on Saturday night at 8:00. That will be on ESPN2. Then they play the Boston Celtics at 7:30 on NBA TV Saturday night. Then they play Tuesday. They play the Spurs at 10:30 p.m. That most likely will be against Victor Wembanyama at 10:30 p.m. on NBA TV. So that will be a good one to watch. And then they play against Oklahoma City at 5:00 on Friday on ESPNU. So that possibly could be against Chet Holmgren. But by that time, I think they're going to sit Chet because Chet's already played in a couple games in the other summer league on the West Coast. I want to say the Salt Lake City game. So he'll probably be sitting by that game. So which players stand out to you? Which games are you looking forward to as well?
Ooh, players that stood out to me, man. I'm going to start off. I got about 5, so definitely bear with me. Number 1, I'm going to bring up my man, Johnny Davis. What I'm looking for from Johnny Davis, I want him to be a straight dog on the defensive and the offensive end. You know, offensively, man, try to score because I want him to be a scorer. I hear they're trying to make up a point guard. Stop all that. Stop that mess. Now, he's a shooting guard. Put the ball in his hands, let him score. Because like I said, once he figures out the NBA game, look, the last 10 games last year, look, he looked all right. You know, he can. So I want to see him be a straight dog. And the same thing goes for Bilal Coulibaly. Look, I understand the shot. I'm kind of intrigued to see how the shot's going to go. You know, how much does he have to really work on the release? I'm very intrigued. But look, he's a slasher. I want to see him be a dog. I want to see him be very, very aggressive on both ends. That's what I mean. Both of them are really the same goals. I want to see I want to see the dog in them straight up. Both of them, I want to see them score. I want to see them shut people down on the defensive end. Tristan Vucevic, man. We know what he can do on the offensive end. Defensively, obviously he's not, a defensive guy, but what I want to see is energy on the defensive end. There's a lot of players out here that aren't defensive guys, but I want to see energy. That's a big thing for me. Is he putting energy? How energetic is he on the defensive end? So that's big with him. Quentin Jackson. Man, the microwave score, man. I want to see him go off. I want to see him dunk on a few folk. I want to see a couple posters, man. Because look, we know Brother Man can play some basketball. He can score. I want to see him go off in summer league. Because I want people to start putting some respect on his name, man. Xavier Cooks. I want to see how much he expand his range. Because coming over from Australia, very athletic. He can definitely attack the paint, but his shot has always been a question. So I want to see how much, has he developed the mid-range? How far is his range? But to me, those are the big 5 guys. Now, obviously those are pretty much the 5 guys that I know from the roster. But I mean, those are the guys that I'm really looking to mostly. Because I mean, like Xavier Cooks, man, look, like you said, Tommy brought him in on a multi-year contract, which at the time was like, really, dude? But he's got to expand his range, man, because in the NBA, you can be athletic, but you can look at guys like Derrick Jones Jr., man. There's a reason why he's a journeyman. You got to find a skill, which is shooting the ball. You got to develop a shot. So I want to see if he can expand his range a little bit. But Quentin Jackson, Coulibaly, and Johnny Davis, I want to see them ball out. On the defensive end, bring that dog out. On the offensive end, look, drive. Try to go to the free throw line. Look, this is your time to show people where you're at. So I want to see them very, very aggressive. And, again, with Tristan Vucevic, man, we know he can play some on the offensive end. He can definitely spread the floor. But I want to see if he shows any energy on the defensive end. Because, look, if he starts to show, some energy on the defensive end and even becomes an average defender, then, look, he can work his way up to the depth chart. Because we were just talking about Mike Muscala. If and I'm not saying that, some leagues going to be that showcase is going to bump him up past Muscala, but I do want to see some energy on the defensive end. So that's where I'm at, man.
Yeah, a lot of eyes are going to be on Johnny Davis. This is your second year in the summer league. You got to show improvement. You got to show what you worked on in the summertime. He already said that he gained 5 pounds in the weight room, or 5 pounds, just 5 pounds in general. So I'll take it as 5 pounds of muscle. So I'm intrigued to see that. Did he get explosive? Yeah, Taco Bell commercial. And that's the thing, too, with confidence and swagger. We saw him as a chill guy in the Greenberg and Betterman commercial. He's just a real chill guy, not a lot of energy. It's kind of just real chill, kind of flat in the commercial. Same thing with the Taco Bell commercial. I know you joked him about that during the season for that Greenberg and Betterman. I want to see confidence. I want to see enthusiasm. I want to see him dominate there. I want to see the dog. The dog we saw in Wisconsin, that's what I want to see from him in the summer league. He had a hard time getting by guys, hard time having any counter moves. It was either 1 or 2 dribbles and they stopped him, and he picked up his dribble. I don't want to see any of that. I want to see him keep his dribble, counter moves. A lot of times he hesitated from the three-point line. He was kind of shy to shoot the three. Let it fly. Let it go. The Rockets game we went to, he was, 3 for – he was like 2 for 10 or 2 for 15 from the three-point line.
Yeah.
It's awful. But what I did like is that he actually shot the shot. He didn't hesitate at all. He didn't think twice. He just let it fly. Let it go. Let it fly. Let it go. This is not the time to think too much. This is the time to showcase yourself and show what you worked on in the offseason so far. Get aggressive. He's a good finisher around the rim. The scoop layup that he had in the regular season, he showed some flashes. He had a couple 15, 20-point games in the regular season when he got to play when they sat guys down. So be aggressive, man. Be aggressive. And look for your shot and create your own shot. And I want to see them get a couple shots in the mid-range for him offensively. Draw up a couple plays for him in the mid-range game. Quentin Jackson, I think he's going to be a star. I think a lot of people are going to be excited to him. And like you said, I think he's going to put his name on the map in the summer league. And kind of like Glenn Rice Jr. a couple of years ago, where he was all summer league. I think Johnny can possibly do something like that. I think Quentin Jackson has the potential to do something like that in the summer league. Troy Brown Jr., he was all first-team summer league. Otto Porter was all first-team summer league his second season in the league. So I think one of these guys are capable of doing that for sure. And I think Quentin Jackson is a guy that is definitely going to get a couple of highlight dunks. Xavier Cooks, he didn't look good in the Rockets game that we went to the last game of the season. He had a couple drop passes. Couldn't really finish around the rim well. Outside shooter's not his game. He's kind of like an old-school Joakim Noah kind of player, but he's not as tall as Joakim Noah. He's 6'8". Joakim Noah wasn't that tall. He was probably like 6'10", which is a good height, actually. But that's kind of the way that Xavier Cooks plays with a lot of energy. And then Vucevic, we know he can shoot. We know he can stretch the floor, so go out there and do it. Knock down a couple threes, run the floor, put the ball on the floor a little bit. He can dribble. He can dribble better than a lot of big men out there, so he can put the ball on the floor and create for himself. I do want to see that. A couple of fadeaway jumpers, but what does he do on the defensive end? Can he hold his own out there, especially since he might be playing against Victor with San Antonio? The Pacers, they got Jarris Walker. So Jarris Walker was drafted, right after Bilal? I think actually right after. So that's going to be a good matchup right there. That can be a good comparison since they're so close, excuse me, in draft spots. And then, of course, all eyes on Bilal. What does he do out there defensively? Johnny Davis said nobody has been able to get by Bilal in practice. Now, a lot of people were joking Johnny about that, saying that Johnny hasn't been able to get by anybody because he struggled to do that last year in the summer league. Bilal, could he be a defensive stopper? How does he finish transition? How does he play an offensive in the half court? How does he handle the basketball? Will Dawkins said he wants the ball in his hands a lot. So I'm intrigued to see what he does on the offense side of the ball. And then three-point shooting, I'm not expecting him to go out there and hit a bunch of threes. But how does the form look? How does the shot look? How does his confidence look shooting the three ball out there? Is he hesitating like Johnny did last year? How is he finishing around the rim? His left hand, he's good. He finishes well with his left hand as well. So I'm intrigued to see that. I'm intrigued to see the Euro step. And he's a guy that can dunk on people too. So we got a couple guys that can put some guys on posters for sure. And then the other two guys that may be playing, Patrick Baldwin and Ryan Rollins, if they do play, I'm excited to see what those guys can do too. Because Ryan Rollins had a heck of a G League. As Cyrus, who was our guest last time, he told us, and then he told us look at Pat Baldwin's shooting form. If Pat Baldwin plays, he said that Pat Baldwin has the perfect shooting form, and Pat Baldwin certainly is a shooter. He's a 6'10" shooter that can get hot from the 3-point line. So those are the guys I'm certainly looking for. And the other guys too, I'm not familiar with, so I just want those guys to be aggressive and come in. Summer League it's kind of a game or a league where you just throw the ball out there, and guys can definitely be selfish because it's their last chance to showcase that they can play in the NBA, or they're trying to show guys that they can play overseas. So it's going to be a lot of fun, but at the same time, it's going to be a lot of tough. It's going to be business for a lot of guys trying to showcase that this may be their last opportunity to play in the NBA or get a contract overseas.
Yeah, I'm telling you right now, man. I'm telling you, book it. Johnny Davis is going to take a step. He's going to average 10. Book it. This year, absolutely.
Oh, this year, okay. In the summer league, I was about to say 10 is not a lot.
Oh,
but in the summer
nah.
league, 10, in the league, that's good. That would be good for him.
I'm telling you, man, because look, I'm a believer, man. You know, look, I understand he looked bad last year, man, but I'm a believer in his work ethic, man. I think he's going to step up, man. I think he's going to average 10 this year. Book it. I said it here first, and when it happens, got to give me my respect. But I mean, I'm telling you, man, his work ethic, man. I'm telling you right now, they're going to let people know. Him and Bilal in the summer league, they're going to let people know, man. They're going to go and ball out because look. They've got nothing but time this year to play ball. There's nobody holding them up. There's no veteran. We're not trying to make the playoffs. Look, this is their year to play. So you best believe, Ben. I think that Johnny Davis and Bilal are going to come out in summer league and let people know, man. You're going to let them know. So, yeah, right. I'm excited, man. I'm definitely excited for the summer league, man. Yeah, I'm excited because it's the first basketball in a minute. So let's get it.
I know. Yeah, and we'll be going live after each game. They play Saturday at 8:00, so we're going to go live after that. And Sunday night, we're going to go live after that game as well. The 10:30 game is a little iffy on Tuesday night, but we're going to do our best to go live after that. So we're going to chop it up with you guys. Last, before we get off, I guess we'll do a couple over-under. Shout out to PrizePicks, and maybe FanDuel might have some of the player points on there and some props and stuff. I know FanDuel has some betting stuff on their PrizePicks too. But Johnny Davis over under 13 points a game in the summer league.
Ooh, I'm rolling over.
Okay. And then Bilal 8 points over under.
Under.
Okay. It's a tough one for me. I'm gonna go under on Bilal for points as well. I agree with you on that. And then Johnny Davis. Man, you know, I'll go with you on the over on that. I will. I'll go with you on the over. I think he's going to get a lot of shots.
Okay.
He's going to shoot the ball a lot. He's going to be very aggressive. And I think Quentin Jackson's going to have a really good summer league. But we just want to thank you guys for listening as well and making Locked On Wizards your first listen every day. For every dayers tomorrow on the show, make sure you guys check us out. We will be talking about Tyus Jones and his impact, his possible potential impact on the roster coming up. Thank you guys for listening. Make sure you guys hit the subscribe button and the notification bell as well. Subscribe to the podcast wherever you guys get a podcast. Hail to the Wizards. Peace.